submitted that proposal is that, well, what happens if, the feasibility study, NOROP feasibility study isn't done yet? How are we going to know, how many truck drivers do we need? How many, heavy equipment operators are we going to need? How many electricians? How many, so we made sure that, the proposal was submitted, or that we had planned for the training. We were going to have that training number, like the number of trainees we were going to need came from that feasibility study. Okay, so this is what we're going to need here. This is what we're going to need there. So that was a way we managed that risk, was making sure that we did not, that we applied for the max number of trainees, because you always want to over budget or over accommodate, right? So say we needed 6, we applied for, say, 10 or 8, right? Just to make sure that we were going to be safe. The other thing that we, another risk was the fact that, the Ring of Fire right now is on hold. NOROP right now is on hold. So So the risk management of that on our risk register, we were aware that this may become a really bad hazard, and unfortunately it has. But our risk management in that case was that in the meantime we were developing partnerships. In fact, we had a partnership development officer at KCETS that was going to be able to create partnerships that were going to develop jobs, that were going to make jobs, that were going to create opportunities for our trainees to work in those positions through those partnerships with outside organizations or outside. Do you know what I mean? So that was a way that we had managed those risks. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And the other thing, again, with that management risks, to manage risks, the other thing is to always over budget. So when you develop in your setup, when you're good to go, and you're doing your planning, the first phase is the setup, the next phase is the planning. In your planning and you're developing your budgets, you always want to ask for more.
Okay.
Always ask for more than you need.
My dad would have told you, no, you don't.
Yes, we do. Yeah, so especially when there's so many things that can go wrong in our communities, right? There's so many there's deaths that happen. There's a lot of things that can affect our projects, and especially when it happens at the community level with our members, with our community people, that affects the overall outcome of our projects. So, maintaining, keeping over budget. Ask for more money than you need, because then afterwards, those slippages are going to come in handy. Because you can, use that to buffer your overspending if you do. If you don't overspend, if you don't overspend, the worst thing that could happen is you have to give the money back, the leftover money back. I mean, but at least your project is still successful, right?
Right.
Okay. So the next.
Throw a big party.
No, unfortunately, if it's not in your line items, no. So the next one is maintaining your budget. And again, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Just keep on track. Keep reviewing your budgets. Keep maintaining your GLs. Your general ledgers, your detailed GLs. Make sure you know what's being spent and how much of it is being spent and where is it going. So for instance, we have, our GLs, our detailed GLs, right, that show what it is that we bought. Everything is accounted for, right? So the other piece is your GL. So what is your cost code what is covered in that cost code. So, for instance, say you've got certain digits, or your accounting people in the office have their own codes for specific departments. Say your department was given the numbers of 46321. Okay, so 46321-5 is all of your supplies. 46321 dash. Okay, so yeah, you always want to maintain and you always want to keep track of all of that financial stuff. Become very familiar with those financial codes and how much is being spent in those codes, in those accounts.
Okay.
That's one thing I will totally vouch for. Being familiar with accounting will really help in the long run, the long scheme of things. It'll make things so much smoother. And as long as you keep reviewing and going back and taking a look at, how much is left to spend, that's going to really keep things on task. That's a big part of it.
And there's a way, Dawn, then to put that, like, your contingency plan, okay?
Yeah.
You kind of have a rough idea of how much you might need for a contingency, your contingency plan that would be in your budget as well?
Yeah. You're just gonna, for each of those budget line items, each of those budget pieces. So for instance, say you only need $250 a month for a rental space. Well, budget for $400 instead, or budget for $300 a month.
Okay.
In each of those budget items.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there insurance in there too, Dawn? Is there insurance there too? Do you have to?
Well, you could.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've never seen that actually.
Because what happened one time here, just like last week, we had the water treatment center. Okay, the $4,000 worth of equipment was stolen from them. You can't force that kind of stuff, right?
No, you don't.
That was like a real big kick in the pants for them there. But yeah, I'd like to, if there was a way to do like insurance or something like that. It's hard to do that though, here on the reserve, I know.
Well, I guess
insurance is very expensive.
But you know what? Greta? The other thing though is that you can actually, I think you could probably roll it into. No, actually, you can. You can roll it into. Like if you're doing a rental space, if you're doing a rental space, you can tack on insurance. That's right. You could, and it could be feasible. I mean, it all depends on, again, your planning stage. The project plan, and also your actually, it would be in your setup, right? Your bare bones.
Right from the beginning. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right from the
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Insurance. Looking for insurance here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I made that note. Okay.
Okay. The other one is to stay current. So of course, you always want to make sure. You always want to make sure that the relevant people are in the loop. You want to keep the right people informed, especially, taking a look back at your communications plan in the planning stage. You want to make sure that all those people are in the loop. Again, your community. You want to keep your community informed. You want to make sure that they as well as and the other thing, and this is really, really important, and I think it's underestimated a lot, this staying current, because you know what, I find that there is a huge, and from my experience, like at the community level, working in the community, it's there's a huge disconnect, and there's a huge communications gap between our community members and our band offices. And any, and our committees, like any kinds of committees that we have, land use planning, or be it, our technical, our technical groups, making sure that everybody is, and the right people, the relevant people are all on board. I can't stress that enough, how important it is to have everybody on the same page. Because sometimes people say, well, I didn't receive that notice for that meeting, and nobody told me, or, who was supposed to bring the information back. And, well, you know what, this is what that communication plan sets out. Right from the get-go, right from, the planning phase, you have to have that strong communication plan. Those roles and responsibilities need to be laid out right from the get-go.
Okay.
So that's what staying current means. Stay current. Keep the right people in the loop, especially your board members. If this setup from the setup stage at the bare bones stage, if this setup required a board, or a finance person on a board, or a board or a committee to oversee this project, those people have to stay current, and their responsibilities have to be laid out as to who they're communicating with, who they're going to spread the word to.
Right.
Okay, communication is key. Communication, definitely. And the other one, so with the delivery comes reporting, and that is fun. So you got to make sure that you're doing your reporting is regular. You always have to make sure that your reporting is regular. So, for instance, usually they're quarterly. So whoever your funder is, whatever the planning agreement was, whatever was set up at the bare bones stage. So once your idea for the project had been approved, right, then you have your planning stage. So usually the reporting is set out in your planning stage. So you're going to report so many months.
Reporting like
your budget, how much money you have
you're
left.
meeting monthly. Okay.
Well, and it depends. And Greta, that's all a part of your planning stage. So if you want to if you want to say, okay, well, we're going to meet monthly, we're going to discuss this, and this, and you can totally do it that way if you'd like. Our reporting for us, like for myself at the office here, we have to do quarterly reporting. And quarterly reporting is done to whatever, government is funding us. So, for instance, with MNRF, we have to report quarterly. So every 3 months, they want to know how much we've spent. They want to know, what objectives have been met, how many times